America has been witness to a handful of high-profile and highly watched criminal trials, among them O.J. Simpson and Michael Jackson. But none were more sensational than the 1991 trial of Pamela Smart, a 22-year-old high school instructor who seduced a student and, with him, plotted the murder of her husband. 25 years after the crime, Billy Flynn, the 16-year-old who pulled the trigger on Greg Smart, was given parole.
It's your birthday, and the good news is we are granting you the privilege of parole.
That's news today because the 1991 Pamela Smart trial was the first to be televised wall-to-wall, prompting spectators to want to see it for themselves.
What time did you get here today?
1:30 this morning.
1:30. Why?
Wanted to get a front row seat, I guess.
The trial had all the lurid trappings of a media phenomenon: underage sex, a conniving seductress, and murder.
If this story were a made-for-TV movie, and it surely will be,
Jane Pauley was only half right. It launched a TV movie and plenty more, including a feature-length film starring Nicole Kidman and an HBO documentary indicting the media.
Litigation as entertainment was just exploding, and it exploded through this trial.
The Pamela Smart trial kicked off the first of what has been a generation of sensational trials.
Robert Shapiro can play to the media, but the Simpson case made him a household name.
O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, Scott Peterson, Casey Anthony, to name a few. Making this 25-year-old stand-up from WGBH News reporter Marcus Jones seem prescient.
All of this will be documented at some point in a movie of the week. It's enough to make you wonder at times just what it's all about. Justice or just entertainment?
On whether the harsh glow of the media had any effect on the outcome of the trials, the jury is still out. I can remember when J. Albert Johnson, the local criminal attorney who did the appeal for Pamela Smart, it was all on the basis of the media circus, the media zoo, the prejudicial atmosphere. And you remember, John, we were all up there and around. I mean, we were all watching it. We were carrying it live at Channel 5, but it didn't work. And because what they're saying is that the jury didn't see that, the jury wasn't tainted by that, even though we all certainly had this sense. I actually thought back then that he might win on that point. But you look at all the trials that have followed in the footsteps of that, you know, from O.J. Simpson, there was no bigger circus than O.J. Simpson. And once again, nothing happened in terms of, you know, that being overturned on the basis of prejudicial media.
Yeah, I mean, this was a trash fest.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. She was trashy, the boys were trashy, and the whole story was about as lurid as it comes. This was not, however, the first sensational televised trial to really catch on with the public. Ted Bundy's trial, I believe, in 1978, so many years before, also caused a sensation. But this had a special catch to it because Americans love trash. We love it. There are multiple networks making fat profits at this very day.
That's
from
right. Well,
capitalizing.
this was like the beginnings of Court TV,
Yeah.
which has since disappeared because CNN has taken their place.
Yeah.
But remember, Court TV had just come online, and this was one of the trials that they were.
Well, this was pre-Nancy Grace, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Nancy
yeah.
Grace is like the apotheosis of taking it, and that's where, I mean, the cameras in the courtroom, to me, that's democracy. That I have no problem with that. I have no problem with people being able to see what is happening, you know, under their watch. The bigger problem is when someone like Nancy Grace gets on TV and is judge, jury, prosecutioner, and is pushing, you know, the public in a certain direction, and people take that as news. It's the blend of news and entertainment that the 24-hour cable channels have brought on that are the bigger problem.
Well, I just to finish my thought, it's trashy, but at least it's trashy programming about something that's important. Justice is important, right and wrong, the law. And, you know, to the extent that people, maybe you'd like them to learn about it in an academic classroom, but to the extent that people learn about how our judicial system works through these trials, I think there's maybe some merit in it.
I'm surprised the courts didn't, and in this case, the jury was not sequestered.
No.
Which is a huge shocker. I mean, that would never happen again. So I do think that, and they didn't move the trial either. And so I think that Pam Smart has an argument, maybe not a legal argument, that she was one of these initial victims of the big media sensation. Because you go home at night as a juror, I mean, that's got to be prejudicial.
Well, look at even Tsarnaev. Judge George O'Toole says to them every day, did you watch any news? Did you read the newspaper? And they all say no.
They should have moved this
Yeah,
entire trial
don't
out
get me
of
going
town.
on that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a whole other thing.
So yeah, just to amplify on what George was saying, or to follow it up, my understanding is that the documentary, the new documentary, which I have not
Captivated.
seen, does make a case that
It
the
does.
saturation coverage did affect the jury's
They did.
deliberations, and that Pamela Smart's hoping that this might get her case reconsidered. I was in college in the Midwest at the time, so I was not paying close attention to this. I did see To Die For, though. Very, very good
You
movie.
should have been on the jury then.
Let's not forget, they had her on tape.
Yes.
Basically talking about how glad she was to be rid of her creepy
Yeah, there was a wiretap
husband.
involved. You don't remember this. They wiretapped one of her friends, and they caught her essentially confessing. So I'm not going to the slammer for this, and so. And basically admitting that she had lured the kids into it.
I don't buy the notion that media coverage, however tacky, is inherently prejudicial. I just don't buy it.
The documentary was prejudicial.
And not all of the televised trials end in convictions. I mean, look at Casey Anthony. Despite Nancy Grace's best efforts, she walked. She's probably
how about
hiding
O.J.
right
Simpson?
now.
That's the classic one.
Right.
I mean, did anybody think in a million years after jury deliberates 4 hours, and they were sequestered, as I recall. I can't remember.
So, since I didn't see this, was there sort of hamming for the cameras in this trial at all? I mean, with O.J., you had the sense that he was really playing
The judge,
with the
for
whole
sure.
glove thing.
The judge, for
did?
sure. The judge didn't want to move that trial, wanted to have it in New Hampshire, wanted to be the center of things, knew the kind of coverage he was going to get nationwide, and got it.